Welcome to East Meets West, and today I have my special friend, Heber Mena, and Heber, originally from El Salvador, and I accidentally had a little visit in El Salvador on a trip to Honduras, but yes, it was really nice there. And Heber, like myself, also very growth-oriented, passionate, energetic, focused person. He is a husband and father. And yes, as I said, my friend. And he is one of the John Maxwell executive director level. He served in so many capacity. And so today when he's going to be talking about these leadership challenges that he would have faced and also that are faced by entrepreneurs, ministers, executives around the world, as he would have served in many countries before. And so today we do have that pleasure of having Heber share with us some of these challenges and also how do you overcome some of these challenges. Heber has served in, as I said, in many areas. So Life Victorious Consulting, and that's his company, and he's a Maxwell Leadership Executive Director. He's a Future Leadership Foundation. He's part of 𝐸QUIP and the Beyond Success Program. He served as a pastor at High Point Church. So he wealth of knowledge in all these different areas, and I'm sure he's going to be adding value to us because that is one of what he enjoys doing, is to add value to people who will multiply the value to others. And so I am going to stop here and ask, Heber to please share anything I might have missed in his introduction. But Heber, welcome to East Meets West, and we do appreciate you taking the time out to come and grace us with some of your wisdom that we can apply in our lives and, help us to grow also.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Shanti. You're very kind of doing that introduction. Really, what that means is just my passion in life is to connect with people, add value to them, and empower them to make a difference in their own world. And my desire every day is to live well, wisely, and humbly. And if I'm doing all of those things, I'm really living, and I have so much joy in my heart, and I am humble for this amazing opportunity that you are giving me to speak to your audience about 5 leadership challenges that I have identified as being an entrepreneur, a minister, and an executive in my different roles that I do. So thank you so much for the invite, and I hope I can add value to your audience, and I'm ready. So here I am.
Yes. So I'm glad that you're speaking English, and we appreciate that. I know some of the Spanish audience would like to hear you speak in their language, but we do appreciate that you are speaking for us to understand. So, Heber, let's talk about these challenges. I know that you would have shared some of the challenges, and but as I looked at it, it was some of the things that I think all of us experience. And if you want, you can start with any one of the challenges that you would like to discuss today.
Absolutely. When people ask me, like, what do you do? That's a loaded question. They don't know what they're asking for whenever they're talking to me. I'm just a very energetic person. And, like our mentor, John Maxwell said, he talks about, a person being high energy, low IQ. I identified every time you say that. I just have so much energy that I love doing a lot of things. But in my life, in my time of serving others, I have identified in the last 10 years 5 main challenges. And one of those, the first one is time management. We hear these, at school, universities, grad school, and all of those problems, time management. And it's interesting because, we all have the same time. You have 24 hours, you have 7 days a week. So it always been so hard to be able to really put a description or a strategy to managing time. Now, of course, as I serve different capacities, different organizations, and I just love serving. And people ask me, so how do you make time to do all of those things? And one of the things, once again, is time management. So that's one of the challenges. And I'm going to cover this a little bit at the end, because what happened is that I identified the challenges, and then I had to do a paradigm shift in order to manage them and to overcome them, if you will, if you want to use that word. But the second challenge that I found is criticism. And criticism, whenever you're leading something, whenever you're doing something, you're going to be criticized. And that has been one of the hardest one for me, because words are very important for me. If you're familiar with Dr. Gary Chapman, the 5 love languages, words of affirmation is my number one. I mean, I don't care if you give me a smart watch that you pay $1,000 for it. I just put it on the side. It's cute, whatever. But if you write a note for me, I save it and I keep it in my wallet and when I travel, all of those things. So criticism is really hard for me to take it, because I feel hurt. I mean, I get insecure and I get defensive. And so it's been a challenge. I mean, all my life, and it still is. The other one is, how to stay in shape physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. All of those things are very important. One of the roles that I have is I'm a minister. And, how do I stay in shape as far as my own spirituality? Where do I get the food for my spirit? So that has been a challenge in my ministry. Health, this could be a topic for another time, is transformation. Like 2 years ago, I was almost 300 pounds, and I wasn't sleeping well, and I was feeling really grumpy and irritated about everything. Well, I was having kidney stones. I mean, it's a lot of stuff. So how did I come to that? It's a challenge, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And then finances, when we get into this, businesses, and everybody hears the word entrepreneurs, the reality is finances are a challenge. And some of us, we're not trained to be successful. We were trained to be survivors. I come from a very poor country, El Salvador, in Central America. We didn't have savings accounts. We barely made it for one meal a day. And so finances was like, how do I do that? And so it became a challenge, and how to do all those things. And then, it's very tense. Every time we talk about finances, it doesn't matter if it's with your mom, with your dad, with your spouse, at work, at church. I mean, finances just bring some sort of tension to the picture. And then the fifth challenge is personal, ministry, and business goal. Oh, I tell you what, since I was a little boy, I just wanted to achieve things, and I'm so goal oriented, and I wanna do this. I want to learn English. I want to become a teacher. I want to, all of those things. So goals. So the 5 challenges that have been very crucial in my life to shape me as a person, as a leader, as a father, as a friend, and it has been time management, criticism, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual health, which is a holistic approach there, finances, and goals. Now, once again, how did I manage to manage these things or to overcome all these things? Well, I'll tell you something. It was last year. I do word of the year, and last year I was trying to come out with my word and doing all of these things. It's hard to say no to good things. And so I was trying to stay focused and do how am I going to be able to pull this off? And so last year, I was trying to figure out what is going to be my word for 2023. And I could not come up with one word, because when you hear all the hats that I wear, having my own business, being an executive director for the Master Leadership, being the field director for Latin America for Future Leadership Foundation, working for 𝐿𝐞𝐬, being a minister, being a father of 4, taking care of 1 dog and 5 cats. And I mean, oh, you name it, like what I needed in my life was balance and alignment. And so I couldn't come up with a word, like, and I wanted to challenge myself. So I could not find a word that will encompass those two. So I made up my own word. So the word for 2023 is alignment. Okay. And so basically what I did is, after going through transformation and losing all that weight and getting healthy and all of that, I said, I need balance. Balance is stability produced by an even distribution of weight. In this case, I wasn't talking about physical weight. I was talking more about like mental and spiritual and all of those things. And the alignment is to be in or come to a precise adjustment or correct relative position. So those two things like really did it. Now, remember, I'm a person of faith. So I had to go see what has been said about this in the book that I value the most. And Paul, who is one of the writers that I admire the most, one of the leaders that I admire the most, he wrote something in one letter that he wrote to a group of people in 1 Thessalonians. It says like this: may God himself, the God who makes everything holy and whole, make you holy and whole, put you together, spirit, soul, and body, and keep you fit for the coming of our Master Jesus Christ. The one who called you is completely dependable. If he say he'll do it. So I started thinking about, God doesn't just want a part of me. He wants it all. He desires to have all of me, and he will not stop transforming me until there is nothing else that could not be conformed to his image. So this word alignment brought me to this amazing paradigm shift that I had to do as it relates to the 5 challenges that I mentioned at the beginning. So here's what happened. I realized that if you can change the way you think, you can change the way you feel, then you can change the way you act. And that came from me, once again, reading Paul in Romans chapter 12, verse 2, where it said, do not be conformed to the patterns of this world, that you don't even think about what's going on, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. The word transformation does not exist in the Greek. The word in the Greek that means transformation is metamorphosis. So I had to experience some sort of pain and metamorphosis, and everything had to be in my mind. So I came up with this paradigm shift that I called it shift. So instead of thinking about time management to stay sane, alive, and productive, I started thinking about time budgeting. Because as I mentioned before, we all have the same amount of time and days. And so I made the shift from management to budgeting, and then I focused on priorities. So I started managing my priorities, because here's the thing, like when you think about what you have to do, you have to create a list, you have to write your priorities, and then you need to prioritize your priorities. John Maxwell talked about the Pareto principle, the 80-20. 20% of your investment is going to give you 80% of your results. So that helped me. That was the paradigm shift, thinking differently. And so the paradigm shift is time management to time budgeting, and that is what I call the priority question. So how am I prioritizing my life? That will determine how am I budgeting my life as well with my time. The second paradigm shift that I had was the criticism. I started thinking about this, what is a positive word for criticism? And I started calling it insight. Okay. So helped me to be less defensive when somebody would come with something, you know. And a phrase that I heard from Andy Stanley is the one who really unlocked this, because Andy said this, you know, I don't learn a whole lot from people that always agree with me. You know, John Maxwell said, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Well, that's not a problem for me. But at the same time, criticism comes with that, you know. So I made the paradigm shift from thinking about criticism to insight. So that is the awareness question. So the first one is the priority question. The second paradigm shift is the awareness question. How aware am I that really I'm not perfect? That really some people are right with the things that they're telling me. To be open to that. Don't take it personal. The older I get, the less serious, seriously I take myself. You know, it just doesn't work. So the insight, the awareness question. Number 3 is that holistic approach of physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, and all of those things. So there's my word, alignment. Now I do have that copyright, okay? So don't try to steal it from me. I'm just kidding. I can give you my notes, or you can type to share all of those. I just love sharing. But I came up with that word because that was like, how can I stay in balance and aligned? You know, we put a lot of emphasis in keeping our cars really well. We do oil change, and we do buy new tires, and we have to balance and align the tires. And we don't do that with our life. We neglect ourselves. So I say, no, I have to make that paradigm shift. So I stay balanced physically, emotionally, mentally. How do I do that? You know, well, guess what? I love drinking coffee, but I had kidney stone because that's all I drank. I wasn't drinking any water. Well, guess what I do now? I don't drink any coffee in the morning unless I put 60 ounces of water in my system. Okay. When I get a phone call, I get up and start walking. I get like that. I process my emotion. I have a feelings chart in my office. I have a feelings chart in my car. You know, I talk about emotions. I embrace my emotion. You know, I check my thoughts. I bring captive all of those negative things. You know, and just because I'm a minister and I have to share a message every Sunday or in an environment that requires me to prepare, that doesn't do for my quiet time, my personal quiet time. I'm not cheating there. Like, okay, that's correct. This is for me. So I am very disciplined. I'm 4 a.m. I'm up and I'm ready to roll. So that's what I did. So that is the alignment question. Number 4, finances. You know, growing up, being very poor, I didn't even have a relationship with finances. Later in life, I learned that finances could be spiritual. The more God blesses me, I have come to this conclusion that the purpose of wealth is to empower generosity. Not only financially, but emotionally. If I'm okay emotionally, I'm wealthy. So I can come here. The reason I'm here is because I cannot wait for this day since Chanty invited me, and I'm ready to go. So I started looking at finances as a resource rather than just money. And people say, you know, I have a love-hate relationship with money, or money is a necessary evil. And we hear a lot of things about money, but we never hear that it's just a resource. So that is the stewardship question. And lastly, personal, ministry, and business goals. That was amazing. And that's actually the one who has been driving all of this paradigm shift. And is that I moved to be goal-oriented to growth-oriented. Because goals is like we focus on the destination. But when we're growth-oriented, we focus on the journey. And we enjoy it more and more. And so now, I mean, I grow, and I have learned these things from my mentors, you know, every day. I think, I read, I write, I file, I have magazines, pictures from Facebook that I'm going to use for my teachings. I write, I implement things that I do. That I'm growing. I love to learn things every day. I ask questions. I've developed the art of asking questions. So the paradigm shift that I did, you know, from time management, I moved to time budgeting. That is the priority question. From criticism I moved to insight. That is the awareness question. From physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual health, I created alignment, and that is the balance and enlightenment question. In the finances, I moved that to resources, and that is a tool that I use now to be able to help others. That's the stewardship question. And from goal-oriented, I moved to growth-oriented, and that is how I was able to identify my challenges, but also manage my challenges and overcome them as I continue growing. So that's my experience. This might not be the case for you, but you know, if something is helpful, you know, I hope that I added value to you today. And I've been talking too much, so I love to hear from Shanti. Maybe, I don't know, some comments, thoughts, or complaints. I don't know what she got.
No, as you were speaking, I'm thinking, you know, these are challenges that I face, that I know for sure many others are facing. And indeed, you know, many people ask me, Shanti, could you come and do a training on time management? And it's so many different teams too that I work with, and all of them struggle with managing their time. And so I always tell them there is no such thing as time management, because you cannot control, you have no control over time. And so all you have control over is yourself. And so therefore, you know, how do you manage yourself within the 24 hours that you have? My 24 hours, you know, we all have the same 24 hours. And so I like that you said time budgeting. So, you know, to think about it in that angle, okay, how many time would I put aside for this particular thing? How much would I put aside for this particular thing? But what I found is that, yes, there are so many tools that are there that people can actually utilize to help them, you know, to manage themselves throughout the day. But yet many people don't use them. And some of us, yeah, it might be new for you, but then practicing. So like for me, I use my calendar. And if I don't use my calendar to plan, I end up get myself into trouble because I overbook myself. And, you know, it could come across unprofessional that, you know, you didn't show up for a meeting, or you didn't, you know, because it wasn't there. So it just slips you. But then there's a priority question that I like there. That part of it is what I found many teams struggle with. It says if they don't know what is priority. So they have a whole list of things to do, but then it seems like everything is a priority. And so I always ask them to rate. Okay, so if you have this thing to do, and you have this thing to do, and you have this thing to do, if you were to rate this on a scale of 1 to 5, maybe 1, it could wait. 5, that it must be done today, or else some serious thing is gonna happen. And so if you end up rating everything as a 5, then nothing is really important, because all is on the same level. Nothing is taken, you know, priority or precedent over anything. And so when you think about it in that angle, prioritizing what is most important for the day, that you must budget time to get this done, to get this done, to get this done. And so those are some thoughts coming. Like for me, when I'm working with the teams too, I ask them, write your tomorrow today. So by doing that, is at the end of the day, you write what are your top, we call them frogs. You know, there's this book about your frog list. So make your frog list. Frogs are things you don't like, right? And they like to eat. It's always if this book, I think the book named Eat the Frog or something like that. But what are the frogs you need to eat the next day that is, you know, high priority stuff? Might be things that you don't like doing too, but you have to do it because it's important that it gets done. So write in your tomorrow today, and there's so many books on these things, and so many people speaking about you know, things, planning your tomorrow today. And so write in down your top 3. So like for me, you know, the end of the day, tomorrow, these are the top 3 things I want to get done by 12 o'clock the following day. And then anything else can fall beyond, but these are priority. You put them in that same order. This is the first one, this is next one, and next one. And the truth is that if you actually do that, you're going to save yourself so much time. Because so many of us come and sit at our desk and we then thinking, okay, what do I start with? And you end up doing something else or something else. Before you know it's 12 o'clock, you have not touched the priority thing as yet on that list. So, but when you do it from the day before and you actually have it mentally that, okay, it's written, not mentally only, but it's written out that these are the top 3 things to be done before 12, and it's on your calendar. Between this hour, you budget this time, this time, this time, and it gets done. Sticking with it is going to be a discipline to discipline yourself again. It's managing you instead of managing the time per se. Because if you choose not to do it when you have it on your calendar, well, that is a discipline issue that you might need to deal with.
Absolutely. May I add something to that? You know, because, and again, you know, this could have been the whole session here, you know, because there are 2 things. So I cannot create more time, but you know what I realized is I can create energy. That I can create. How do I do that? Resting well, eating well, taking good care of myself. That's why I'm able to get up at 4 in the morning and start like getting ready to go. Because when I'm done, I'm done, and I'm disciplined about that, you know. And the other thing, so you cannot create time, but you can create energy. Number 2, another thing I want to ask, I don't remember what book was this, but John talks about the 3 R's. You know, you gotta, in order to prioritize, you gotta ask yourself, you know, what is required of me? You know, what is something that I'm the only one that can do? You know, so that helps you to prioritize your priority. Then the second question is like, what will bring me the biggest return? You know, like in corporate world, we talk about the ROI, you know, the return on investment, you know, and you can talk to that the Pareto principle, 20-80, you know. What's going to bring me 80% of the result that I want? What is that 20%? What is the return that I'm going to get? And the third one is what's going to bring me the biggest reward, you know? And that has to do not only with production, but what brings life to you. You know, I love fishing, and there's some, you know, I live in Missouri, and there are rivers and lakes and ponds here around me. So I keep a fishing pole in my trunk. Sometimes I don't even eat anything. I just take a break and just pull over, go to a creek or a river and just start. Like, that's giving me a reward. Why? Because I just got re-energized to come back and continue giving, you know. So that priority goes to my personal self-care, you know. So you can create energy and you think through the grid of the 3 R. What's required of me? What brings me the biggest return? And what brings me the biggest reward, you know. And that'll encourage you to prioritize and to budget your time. And I want to give this much to this much to this. And then, so ask yourself, how am I prioritizing my day? That's the priority question.
Definitely. I love that. Asking yourself those 3 questions. And, you know, I think that's something we don't do too, is, you know, how you talk about taking that time out and just zone out from everything to get re-energized. And sometimes mentally, all of us think that, oh gosh, if I do that, then, you know, I'm going to be wasting time. I could actually be doing something, some other task, and get this task done instead of going and sit and fish, or taking this time out just to breathe and don't think, just be quiet. And, you know, so when you talk about, sometimes I keep reminding myself, slow down to speed up. And that is what comes to my mind. Okay, how do you slow down so that you can actually, because sometimes you just add it, and you start, there's a law of diminishing returns start happening. Because you're mentally exhausted and you keep pushing and you keep pushing, but then the quality starts going down. And so those are things, to really consider when you are thinking of budgeting and prioritizing stuff in your life. And the reward, what are you getting in return? Because, in the nights you can't sleep. You're
Right.
exhausted.
Yes. And it's interesting because this goes to the parentship that I deal with in the malignment part, Like for instance, like I don't watch TV. I don't like to watching the news or anything. But you know what I do? Like when I'm started just kind of like getting ready to go to bed, I watch comedy. That's what I do. I watch little clips of comedy because I like going to bed smiling. I don't check emails at night. That's my balance and alignment. I don't take, unless it's an emergency, of course, I'm a minister, so my phone is there. But I don't check anything that will make me think and keep me awake. I watch comedy. I laugh. I mean, I got my earbuds sometimes and I'm there, and then it's my routine, because I love having fun. My values are respect, transparency, authenticity, vulnerability, smart work, and fun. I always tell people, like if the project does not include fun, don't call me. I'm not your guy. And you know me, I'm always like, I love putting a smile in people's faces. Why? That brings me a lot of return. That's a great reward for me, and so I do that. I'm disciplined to do that, and I budget time to watch comedy.
That's a good one. I to people,
you weren't expecting that one, right?
Yes, but it's indeed sometimes zoning out into doing something like that totally take your mind off everything else, and you're just listening and you're just engaged into that. And but I do think, though, many of our leaders, many of us, including me, sometimes take that for granted, to have a routine that a routine of how you carry your day, routine of maybe exercise, routine of fun time, routine of family time, routine of this. But we take that for granted, that is something that actually can help you. And sometimes, for me, I found that when I'm at it, and when I do take a time out and did something totally different. I can remember one time going go-kart racing with some friends, and I thought to myself that, this was so much fun. And I can't recall when last I had so much fun doing something totally different. And so it's indeed scheduling time out for fun to do something different. And I always believe, try to do something, just every day do something different.
That's exactly right. And our brains are it's interesting because we're just wired to do, and it's hard for us to be, if you think about it. But whenever you stop and then you budget time for that intentionally, then you start being. And the more authentic you are, the more you are that becomes attractive, in any environment. And it's going to manifest in that keynote speaking that you're going to do, the workshop you're going to teach, the mastermind you're going to facilitate, and that conversation you're going to have there, at the store, and so it's just amazing. And you said one of the reasons, Shanti, I think it is that we take this for granted, as you're saying, is because we have bad connotation of all of these things. Like for instance, I grew up in a place, because we were very poor, telling you gotta be doing something all the time, or else you were considered lazy. Naps were not an option, even though I come from a Latin culture and everybody think, oh, we take siestas. No, that's not true. Siestas takes people that are like tourists, but the locals don't take siestas because the grandfather is there. What are you doing? Get up, do. And so for me, it was not an option to get up to sleep in. It was not an option to take a break. That was a sign of laziness. Well, now that I know, it's like, how am I recharging, you know? And so I that's very important. So really, you know, I love roller coasters too, you know. I mean, I like to scare myself, you know. I love doing something risky every day, you know, like I really enjoy what our mentor John was saying at this last conference that we were there, you know. And for those who don't know, we had an International Maxwell Conference just now, and he was saying, you know, I don't ask what the rule that I'm going to break. I'm just asked what's the fine, you know, because it's like his mom didn't say, you know, John, if you get in trouble, right? His mom used to say, John, when you get in trouble. And that was me the whole time. I was that smart, not smart, hyper kid, that I was just, because I just wanted to do something different. And you know, I've always been peculiar. Like I don't do things conventionally. And if you want to summarize how I did the paradigm shift of all of these challenges on leadership, you know, fishing, watching comedy, and riding roller coasters, doing something risky. That keeps me going, alive, and I can then tackle everything that comes to my life. It doesn't matter what it is, but more than anything is because I'm a person of faith. And you know, the scriptures say that if God is for us, who can be against us? And if I remain in him and he remains in me, then I can bear fruit, because apart from him, I cannot do anything. That's the foundation of everything that I'm telling you today. My faith, my belief in that I can't do this on my own. There are a lot of things, 95% of the things that I do, I can't take credit for that. They're too big. But I know who I believe in and what I put my trust and everything. You know, I have given everything, you know, like Paul said, you know, I urge you, my brothers and friends, to present your bodies as living sacrifice. You know, and that's what I do. Like, this is an act of worship. This is the only thing I can manage in my life. My body, my mind, and everything else is just something fun that we get to do. So that's what I think anyway.
Yeah, I'm thinking that, you know, all these challenges, you know, one session here cannot cover them all. I'm, you know, discussing even criticism and all these other finances and your goals, and you know, those are a next half hour, next hour, or even more. We can go on and on them. But I do appreciate, Heber, that you come on board and you actually share in some of these thoughts, and that, you know, keep reminding us to, some of us do know some of these things, and yet we don't do them. And I think more banging on your mind that, you know, taking time out, balance, or is it be alignment?
Alignment, yes. That's right.
Yeah, alignment, yes. I'm learning a new word today, alignment.
Yeah.
You know, how do you actually have that balance and alignment in your life, and stop taking that for granted? You know, everybody, yes, I need to have balance. Yes, you know, but are you doing anything about it? And that is the part where transformation happens, is that you go do something about it, even if it's just a little something, you know, to start practicing something different of how you're going to be aligned to where you're going, or aligned to, you know, growth and not goals per se. And so, Heber, I know that we've come to our time here, but is there anything else you want to close us out? I'm sure that we'll be having other sessions with you, that where you come and share your wisdom with us, that we can benefit also. But before we close, is there anything else you would like to add?
Yes, I just want to say thank you so much for this opportunity that you gave me today to share with your audience. And I will say, you know, that alignment that we're talking about, that encompasses everything here. You have balance, alignment, But the main component there is Christ. Because that's what brings it for me. I'm a person of faith. You might not be that you are listening or watching, but I am. So I'm just sharing with you, like, so that component is what brings those two together, Christ. And then I close with this, because it's a paradigm shift that you need to do. And it's in the mind. The mind is so powerful. But remember, if you can change the way you think, you can change the way you feel. Then you can change the way you act. I hope I added value to you all this morning, today, night. I don't know what part of the world you are, and that's the beauty of this, but I hope that you can also come to this balance and alignment to be able to tackle these challenges. And once again, thank you so much for this opportunity, and be well, and till next time.
Until next time. So thank you so much, Heber, and to all our viewers too, that share your questions in the comment below, and also maybe share some of your challenges and how you have overcome those challenges as a leader in whatever area you are serving, that others can also benefit. So do share this video and comment, share your feedback, share your questions. So thank you, Heber, and I will be seeing you in the next session with us. Thank you again so much.